Jim Jordan called me crying, groveling on the 4th of July, begging me to go against my brother. Begging me. Crying for a half hour. That's the kind of cover-ups that's going on there. Jim Jordan called me several times after that. That week, I had to have my lawyer call him, tell him to stop calling me. I had a teammate, George Pardos, I called and told him, call Jim Jordan and tell him to quit calling me or I'm going to beat his ass. He's throwing us under the bus, all of us. He's a coward. He's a coward. He's not a leader. He's a coward. I'm a leader. I was captain of these guys. That's why I'm here. I would never abandon my team. He abandoned us. Our head coach abandoned us. He's flipped his story. He called other people to flip their story. He called Mark Coleman to flip his story. He called his parents, 90 years old. That's the kind of person Jim Jordan is.
This is Adam DiSabato testifying at an Ohio State House hearing that Republican Congressman Jim Jordan had personally called him and begged him to contradict the account of his own brother, a wrestler who was a victim of sexual abuse by an Ohio State University team doctor. DiSabato's account here corroborates other accounts against Dr. Richard Strauss, who was believed to have abused at least 177 students while he worked at Ohio State University between 1978 and 1998. Strauss died by suicide in 2005, and the college has apologized for what University President Michael Drake called a fundamental failure to act. He said, quote, "Our institution's fundamental failure at the time to prevent this abuse was unacceptable, as there were inadequate efforts to thoroughly investigate complaints raised by students and staff members. Because complaints were raised, and they were raised to the coaches, of which now Ohio State Congressman Jim Jordan was one. He was an assistant coach at the time, and former student after student revealed that Jordan knew about the abuse and yet did nothing to stop it. Even a professional referee came forward after having been one of Strauss's victims, testified that he told Jim Jordan and then head coach Russ Hellickson about the incident, and that their response was, quote, yeah, we know. He went on to say, quote, "It was common knowledge what Strauss was doing, so the attitude was, it is what it is. I wish Jim and Russ too would stand up and do the right thing and admit they knew what Strauss was doing, because everybody knew what he was doing to the wrestlers. What was a shock to me is that Strauss tried to do that to me. He was breaking new ground by going after a ref. Even the refs knew." Now, Jordan has repeatedly denied having any knowledge of the abuse, accusing people like Adam DiSabato of lying. Because, as we all know, there's no downside whatsoever to someone claiming in a public forum that they are the victim of sexual abuse. Talk about something people are just tripping over themselves at the opportunity for. Jordan's office even released a statement saying Congressman Jordan never saw or heard of any abuse, and if he had, he would have dealt with it. Congressman Jordan would never ask anyone to do anything but tell the truth. And I had to double check as well. Yes, we're somehow talking about the same Jim Jordan. Because, to be clear, if there is one thing that Jim Jordan is known for, it's his ability to stay quiet in the face of people committing crimes. He is one of the president's staunchest defenders in Congress, so much so that he was actually moved to the House Intelligence Committee so that Trump would have a vocal supporter shilling for him during the televised impeachment hearings. And shill is exactly what he did, as he breathlessly defended Trump despite evidence proving that he extorted a foreign country to get dirt on his top political opponent for the express purpose of cheating in the next election, and orchestrating a large-scale, top-down cover-up to hide the evidence of his crimes. In other words, I guess he's graduated from screwing over teenage students to now screwing over the entire country. So I get that Jordan's staff might think that a prepared statement claiming that, quote, Congressman Jordan would never ask anyone to do anything but tell the truth might sound effective, but the facts are squarely against him. Because not only did Jordan never once suggest that Trump come forward and testify under oath, but he actively helped him cover up his criminal behavior. So if we're judging him based on his own record, then that doesn't instill much confidence that the Ohio Republican should be trusted regarding the OSU scandal. The simple fact is you don't need to defer to a statement to know what kind of a person Jim Jordan is. He has a pattern of covering up crimes and abuse, even when countless people refute his denials, even when there's plenty of evidence corroborating their claims. He doesn't belong in Congress, he belongs in prison, because he knew that a team doctor was abusing hundreds of students and did nothing besides plead for people to help him. And in a way, he's truly a Republican through and through, because regardless of what vile behavior is in front of him, regardless of how many people are getting hurt, the only victim he sees is himself.